Hi there, welcome to Cosmic Soul Alignment. And in today's episode, I'm joined by Kanika Vasudeva, who's going to talk to us about how her life changed from being an engineer with an MBA to being a radiant empowerment coach and Akashic records reader, and what the catalyst was to her awakening and how it's changed her life completely. So welcome to the show, Kanika.
Thank you so much, Dawn. I'm so happy to be here.
It's nice to have you, and I'm looking forward to this conversation. So, can we begin then with the moment that everything changed for you? Can you tell us about the experience that kicked off your awakening?
Yeah, I think a lot of people who go through an experience like this will tell you that there was a very distinct before and after. For me, life was just very sad, really. I was in my mid 30s. On paper, I was doing really well. As in, I was married, I had a kid, I was pregnant with another child. We were doing well. If you looked at the Facebook photographs or LinkedIn photographs, updates, you would feel like life was going on really well. And yet here I was in the mid 30s, and I remember also trying to reach out to some friends because I was totally unaware of what was going on. I knew I was feeling disconnected. I knew I was feeling very dissatisfied with life. And I'd reach out to my friends and I'd ask them, hey, how are you doing? And it is so sad that almost everybody seemed to say, well, this is like the mid 30s crisis, or as you grow older, life just gets sadder and sadder. And I tried to reconcile myself to the fact, but I was just very depressed. I was pregnant at the time. My daughter inside me was nearing 30, 31 weeks then. And the pregnancy was going well, but I would wake up crying. And I didn't even know why. Like it wouldn't, yes, my marriage wasn't going well, but sometimes it wouldn't even be that it wouldn't be that we'd had an argument or something. I was just so fed up of life. I tried my hand at some things. I tried stilling my mind for a few minutes. And as hard as it was, because for my racing mind, that was very hard. I was used to doing things one after the other. So just to quieten my mind and sit still, that was hard. But the thing was that even if I did quieten my mind for 2 minutes, it didn't shift the world around me. And then amidst all that mess, one day I woke up and I realized that my baby wasn't moving anymore. So I went to the doctors and I heard what no parent wants to hear. I heard that there was no heartbeat. And after that, the whole days or even hours, they're surreal and etched in my memory. Like I can really, I can remember what happened and how things happened. But at the bigger picture level, what was really happening was that whatever was wrong in my life previously, I was able to run away from that. Whereas this time, I wasn't able to run away. The delivery is a very physical experience because she's a grown-up baby. She was 31 weeks, so I had to deliver her. I saw her, I held her. When I came back home, there were reminders of her arrival. We had a bassinet, we had her clothes, we had the nursery prepared, and she wasn't to come. And so this was a time where I think life created for me a situation where I just could not run away from myself. And in hindsight, it is such a blessing. It wasn't feeling like a blessing at the time. But what happened with that whole process, because I couldn't run away, I was now trying to seek answers. Also, as a mom, I really wanted to understand what happened, if my daughter was okay. I wanted to say sorry to her. I was feeling so guilty. I wanted to ensure she was okay, and I really wanted to chat with her because I'd not been able to hold her. I'd not been able to speak with her. I'd not been able to say, I love you. And I just really wanted to do that. So I started asking the universe that, please help me. I need to connect with my daughter. And it was also this moment of surrender, because everything in my life possibly that could go wrong had gone wrong. And I realized now that sometimes, especially I was a project manager, an MBA background, I was so used to doing things on my own. I needed this totally surrendering moment when you put everything down and you go, okay, I'm done. And, just help me. And so in that moment, grace arrived, and I found a spiritual teacher. That's also a miracle by itself, how all of that happened. And he told me he could help me connect with my daughter, because I really wanted to connect with her myself, not through someone else, but I wanted to have that experience myself. And when I did, and I asked her, well, I'm so sorry. I did something wrong, but I'm so sorry. And she goes, well, you did nothing wrong. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she says, well, there was a soul contract. I was supposed to guide you. You had asked me that if you were wasting your life, that I should come and wake you up. So yes, in this lifetime, she was acting like my daughter, but she was really just doing the soul agreement, and such a blessing, because all the time she did try and tell me nicely, she did try and tell me, hey, you're not happy, like do something about it. All those knocks that I heard and I ignored. And then there was something that she had to do just loud enough so I would hear. So I was not doing anything wrong. And I was loved and I was okay as I was. And so I share this story also to tell people that we might feel we are wrong in some way, something we have lost, but Spirit, God, universe, source is never thinking of us like that. They're always with us. You just need to ask for support.
It's always there. I know, and it works in mysterious ways, doesn't it? Usually when something as traumatic as that, and it means that there's something better for you. And like you said, you're ignoring the knocks. I had a very similar, growing up. Absolutely. I ignored all the knocks, and I had an accident that put me flat on my back, that gave me time to think about my life, my situation, because I wasn't happy at all. So I would say it was strange, but when you have that understanding now, it's a very natural thing. And like you said, she was going to wake you up, and she did exactly that.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing your story as well. Because sometimes we're so busy running our lives,
Yeah.
we think that there's this loop that we have to run through. And so life has to stop us down. They have to find a way to go, okay, how will you really listen now?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel that your daughter is still guiding you in some way, not just as that memory, but I suppose like an active soul companion?
Oh, totally. Totally. Now that I think back at this whole experience, I think my life is so dark and it's so light. And there's a beautiful way she has of connecting as well. When I was just starting on that journey, and I had no experience then in terms of spiritual teachers or any awareness that I was a psychic myself. I had no belief like that. But I think I was just reaching out to the universe as a mom myself. And one thing I had said was that, when I am connecting with her, I really want to know it's her. Like, I don't want to have a feather and then guess whether that is her or something. Or I don't want to just have a sign and go, well, is this her or is this a figment of my imagination? And they're so clever. They're so clever because think about it. I had no physical memory with her. I had never held her. She was just in my womb. What memories could I have with her? And you know how she comes and how I always know that this is her? I used to drink a tea that had licorice in it when I was pregnant with her. So it just has that sweet aftertaste. And I'll get that sweet aftertaste sometimes when I'm driving, sometimes when I'm just doing something. And if she just wants to show up that, hey, I'm thinking about you and this is the right track, then I'll just have that taste. It's something that I just cannot ignore because I haven't had licorice. If you check my pantry, like we don't buy licorice. So it's such an amazing way in which I know this is how she's connected with me. So over the years and understanding more, also tuning into the Akashic records, I've built more of a relationship with her. The work that I'm doing now, it's so totally guided by her. Every year when I write down my manifestations on my vision board, she's there, but she is always there. When I need help, she becomes one of those spirit guides. And I'll always say, hey, Anya, I want to know what happened. Or what am I going to do now? What is the next step? And she'll guide me along with the other guides.
Nice. And the licorice, that's your validation that you need to know that it's definitely her. Yeah. So she gives you again what you want. That's super. So if she could speak through you right now then to other parents that are walking through grief, what do you feel that she would want them to know?
Okay, that's a deep question. So I'll just close my eyes and just let her channel and say what she would want them to know. Well, first of all, she wants them to know that you've done no wrong, that whether parents are going through grief or whether parents are looking at children who might have fallen down, had a concussion, broken a leg, any of those things. She just wants to tell them that you haven't done anything wrong. It's part of the bigger soul contract of how they were meant to come, what they were meant to evolve. So it's part of their destiny as well. And sometimes it can be different than what we as parents might feel. And then for parents who have lost someone in the body, this is what she wants to remind them, that actually these are really loving souls because they have decided to come into the life in the physical life form and be with you. So they're really invested in loving you, in your soul path, in your growth, and they're around you. You don't have to feel that you are alone. You can reach out, you can ask for them to connect with you. And most of all, and I see so many souls here, they see their parents grieving, unhappy, sometimes feeling as if they are not able to smile anymore because laughing feels wrong. And all these beautiful souls, they just want to say that they actually want you to smile, they want you to live, they want you to open up to the depth of love inside you and the love that life is. That they're watching you, they're just not here in a physical form. They are with you in the ethereal form. Whenever you want to see them, they're there. They're trying in lots more ways than parents can actually imagine. But they are there. You'll feel them. You will know them in the actions that you are doing. And they want you to be happy. Right now, they want you to be happy and live a joyous life.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank her for that message. That's lovely. Lovely to hear. Because yeah, parents do feel guilty for things that happen to their kids. I know I did. If they fell over, it's oh my goodness, you weren't looking after them properly. But no, these things happen. Absolutely. Okay, I
Yeah, we
know.
take. Mhm.
No, carry on. What were you going to say?
We take a lot of pressure on us as parents. And this is one of the things that I learned after her passing. Even as she was in my belly, I was already thinking out for her. So one of the reasons I was very upset or just generally depressed during that time was because I knew she was going to be a female. And I had lived my life in the manner that society expected us to do. And I, at that time, was feeling that life is somehow a little bit unfair to women. And I was already contemplating life about her. I was already contemplating that life is not going to be good for her and how will I help her? What will I do differently for her? So there was so much responsibility, even before she had just come, that stress that I was putting on myself, that this is how I've got to manage it. And I think this is the loveliest reminder that I've received from her over and over again, that our kids are only born through us, but they're not us. They come in with their own unique purpose, whatever they're supposed to do. Yes, we're supposed to guide them. We're supposed to provide for them. We're supposed to look after them. But rather than thinking as if you are the God for the child, remember your role. You're not that, you're not so big. You're not creating the universe and the multi-universes. You will not be able to do that. If you tried, even the best amongst us wouldn't be able to do that. But just remember, your goal is there to provide. Your goal is there to keep them safe, to watch out for them. And that's it. Just watch. It's actually a privilege to have another life unfold in front of you. And that's all that you should look at it as. That just watching another life form, just the way Source looks at us. And we often think sometimes we are wrong or we are faulty because, I didn't act the right way. I was running late, or I goofed up again. I messed up the relationship again. Source is never looking at us like that. Source always just sees it as a path of evolution and learning and life itself. They're not judging us. Over and over, all the spiritual leaders will tell you that we're not being judged. We do the judging. But if we could just try and be in a similar fashion with our kids, we watch them, we see what is there, we tell them that, hey, this is what I might think. But how do you know? How do I know that the decision that I make for my child is going to be in their best interest? Because have I made all the right decisions for me?
That's a good question. Probably the decisions that you would make for yourself would be totally different now than they were 10, 15 years ago, because you have a deeper understanding of life and how things work.
Yeah, and yes. But because of that, sometimes I feel that, oh, maybe now, and this is my ego self speaking, it goes, oh, maybe now I know better for my child. But your child has different circumstances. Your child has a different soul purpose. Maybe you want them to go dancing, or you want them to take a certain subject, not be with another friend because you dislike that friend. But it is totally possible that your child is supposed to learn from that journey. So instead of evaluating, instead of judging your child, why don't we allow that place where they go and they do their thing? And yes, as the observer, you also get to say, hey, this is what I think about your friend. This is what I think about this course of action that you're going to do. But how about we just let them be and just observe, be there to support, be there to guide, and not have the pressure on them. Because wouldn't it be amazing if we were all allowed to just live as ourselves, and instead of trying to control their early years and have them live by the book, because we're teaching them compliance, we're teaching them how
Yes.
to not be different. Instead, if we allowed, imagine, yes, they'll make mistakes, but they've got you to support. They've got you to say, hey, don't worry, let's get up, let's have an ice cream, let's talk about something else, or we'll come back to the feelings. But you're there to give them that love and support. Then imagine what healthy individuals you're raising over time. Because they grow up, they're not as afraid of failing. The number one thing that keeps all of us back is fear. Anything. The bottom line is fear. I won't do this because I'm so afraid of being seen. I won't do this because I am afraid that my friends will not like it, society will not like it, that I will make a fool of myself. We are afraid. If we just gave them permission to be
Themselves.
then how amazing would the world be?
It'd be wonderful. So observe your child and guide, rather than direct that child or force the child to go in the direction that you think they should be going in, and guide them in the direction that they're naturally flowing to. And just observe them in the minute and be grateful for what it is that they're doing, that they're expressing themselves, which is it's their whole purpose for being here, isn't it? Self-expression. So yeah, observe, guide, and just have gratitude for what's there, what's in your life. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and I always love to see kids in general. I think kids were always close to me. They're probably just closer to me now. I think of how accepting they are when they're born. The first time when they look at anyone, they're not really distrusting. They're not looking at your face and judging that, hey, do you have the right to be my mom right now? They accept. They go, okay, you're my mom, you're my dad. They're not really judging you. It's we do that. And then we teach them that. We bring the fear, we bring the comparison, we tell them that in some sense you are less than. And then they grow up, and all of us have had the same experience. We grow up in some sense and we feel not enough.
Because we're
But
being
what
forced in
if
a
there was,
direction that's not natural for us. We're forced to live by other people's rules.
yeah, and what if we all could just be how we were? And I especially talk this to all the parents who have kids with any disabilities or in some sense they're perceived as dyslexic. Because if the world did not have Steve Jobs, he was dyslexic, for example, if the world did not have them thinking that way, or Picasso's parents told him that, no, you need to really think about science and the laws or nature of science. Imagine how the world would be. We all needed to be different. We all need to not have a world only made of oranges. We need apples, berries,
Yeah.
plums, all the other things, and maybe non-fruits.
If everything was the same and we all had to like the same thing, the world would be really boring.
I know. I know.
Very
And
boring.
yet we compare and we go, okay, I'm an orange, you're an apple, I don't like you.
Yes, we have
And
other things for comparison here.
but also sometimes it's not even the apple who's saying that, hey, you are wrong because you're an orange. Sometimes we will feel where we start feeling not enough is we look at the apple, we go, okay, now I'm not the apple. I don't taste like the apple. So we do it to us. We compare and we feel, oh, we are lacking somewhere. But instead, if we brought that light back to ourselves and said, I'm an orange, even however you feel, maybe you feel like the orange is really big or small, or the shape is not good, or the taste is a little bit different than other oranges. That's okay. But just accept that you are the orange, because we wouldn't be here if this bigger force was not flowing through us. So energetically, we are made of our ancestral energy, like the DNA that's coming from our ancestors. And then every day, think about the food that you're eating and so on. But we all have energy converted flowing through us every single day. It's the air, it's the water that gives us that. So it's the wider life form where all our energy comes from. And for us to be getting that energy, we must be so worthy in some sense, because what is the use otherwise? Why will that energy flow through you, through me, if we were not divine in our own right? There's no mistake there. We are worthy.
No, agreed. Let's talk a little bit about the Akashic records, because I know you read the Akashic records. So, firstly, from your perspective, can you explain the Akashic records? How would you describe it?
I would describe the Akashic records as like this mystical library that contains the information about everything. And the pictures in your mind, they're going to be whatever you want them to be. Different people will describe the Akashic records as looking differently when they go into a place. Some people will have a really modern feel to it. Some people will have this old ancient library kind of feeling to it. And this is beautiful because all that imagination is a result of what we want it to be. But in general, however the imagery for you is, It is just containing information about anything and everything. As in, if I'm looking at your Akashic records, for example, I'd see what your current life is, what the patterns are, and how the patterns have linked to your past pieces, to your ancestral pieces, to your growing up years. If I maybe explain that a little bit here, because sometimes when we say patterns, it is it's explanatory, but not fully always. But think of Google or perhaps Facebook, and let's say you could go to their insights and you could just see what they were reading about you. Now, if you went to Google, it would say, all right, these are the most used search terms. These are the most used articles. These are the most visited websites. Actually, Google Maps can also tell you what are the places you have visited. What is a timeline? If you look at your photos and compile with that, it says, this is your favorite person. And then this was your most intimate moments and so on. So it is actually doing a nice big analysis of you. When you look at it like that, sometimes you even might look at it and go, oh, okay, I didn't know I was spending so much time at this location or with this person. So when you tune into the Akashic records, you're getting a lot deeper awareness about you. And now combine that with the knowledge of why things have happened. So if I want to understand why I have had a toxic relationship, and maybe after a while I understand, okay, I had the toxic relationship, or in some sense, not the best relationship with person A, but I go back and I see, oh, wait a minute, I actually did not have a really healthy relationship with the person before that, and before that, and before that. So I start seeing a pattern. But the Akashic records can go deeper than that. So let's say if my form has been around betrayal in some sense, it'll help me see when was I betrayed for the first time. And therein lies the magic, because you can start healing that bit. Because
From
that's
there.
where that seed starts, the betrayal starts. And it's not that your soul is trying to punish you or anything, but it wants you to learn about betrayal. It wants you to evolve from that betrayal. But as you're learning that and you get more and more betrayed over lifetimes or in this life, it's like the seed gets a little bit of mold around it. And the pattern or how you feel about it becomes a lot bigger. So the good thing with the Akashic records is that when you go in there, first of all, with the energy healing, you can clean off all that mold. And then all that's left is just a seed. So you're not experiencing the pain in such a big way. And then you can just take the seed, pop it out, and then it's gone. And the betrayal story, the repetition that you had to have, all of that's gone from your life.
Yeah, you can heal it from there. So when when you go to the Akashic records, how do you connect with the Akashic records? Because when I want to find out, for just to go and piggyback on your example about finding the first time the betrayal happened, or the first time it occurred for my client, I make that intention, and then in my third eye, I'm taken to stand in front of a podium. And then all of a sudden, these big Akashic, it's like a huge library, it just comes in. And then I ask the question, and it's like a book appears in front of me, and it opens up and it shows me some text or it shows me some images. And that is how I get my information from there. I know yours won't be exactly like that, but is it something similar?
It is something similar. And I have noticed that over time, as I have relaxed into the process, things come up in a very different way. So we all get taught in a certain way. I had my teacher who said, this is how you do it. This is the portal. You go through the portal. She counts us to 1 to 10. And then we'll go in the portal and then we'll see. Either that would be a book, either that would be a past life, whatever has to appear. But now as I've relaxed and I think understood my own channel more, it just comes as it comes. Sometimes I'll be shown a past life. Sometimes that would be the ancestors. Sometimes it'll just dive in first into their inner part, whatever needs to be healed then. Yeah, if I really think, okay, how does it usually happen? It's similar, I am tuning into my third eye, I'm closing, And it's very funny how the images appear. I might not see the full thing. Sometimes I might just get messages other way, but other times I'm just seeing the image and I start following a little trail in the image. I might follow a hand, I might follow where they are, and that just shows more and more. But it is really a channel or relaxing experience in the sense that the more I let go, the more I surrender to the process,
Yeah.
the whole magic just doubles up. And it is amazing because you would have learned some healing modalities as well. So when I'm healing my clients, there are times where I feel like, okay, I'm doing it. This is how I've learned it. So let's do this in the spiritual body and I'll do that. And then there are other times, or even during that time, after I've done a bit, I'm like, okay, let me relax and let me just see what happens now. What do they want to do?
Yeah.
And often that's when I learn something, and it's just amazing. The spirit has all the spirits, all the guides, they just have a really cool way of making the pictures. Like yesterday, I was doing a client reading, and this lady has eating issues. Like whenever she feels bad, she just has that temptation to eat. And of course, logically, everybody understands you don't want to do it and so on. And so we were just doing the reading and healing, which actually wasn't even about that, but was one of the side things that we were going to have a look at. And I didn't see her past life. I just saw an inner part in her. And I said, well, I see her with a lot of jewelry on her. Not that the jewelry looks very good. The jewelry was just like very heavy bangles, not always beautiful, but they just seemed to be heavy. Like she had things around her throat, she had things around her legs, almost like chains, you could call them as jewelry, but they were weighing her down. So we
It's like
started with
shackles.
that, and we started taking them out. And then I'm like, well, she just has more stuff, and there's stuff inside her body. And as we started taking that out, that's when I realized, oh, okay, it's the overeating. So when I surrender, it opens up in very beautiful ways. But we had just all kinds of stuff coming out from inside. Of course, etherically, it makes sense that we saw watering cans coming out. We just saw lots of old food coming out. We saw lots of antique store almost coming out. That was all the past life stuff that was in there. But the spirit will always speak in a way, in an imagery that makes sense to the channeler. I was a channeler then, and to her, because that made complete sense to her. It always somehow uses symbology, just how we will get it. It's so fascinating.
And given that there is no linear time in the Akashic records, then do you believe that the records represent everything that has been and everything that will be?
Yes. And I love that question, because everything will be is there, but what we choose still remains our right. I'm still the co-creator. I'm the co-creator, meaning the universe has got to play a role. My whole soul purpose has got to play a role in there, and I'm creating with them. But what I choose, what I do is with me. And that's why the concept of timelines. And we have the highest timeline, which is, of course, in your best interest and so on. But if you don't want to do it, well, there's so many other timelines as well. So the future is there. Which future you will pick is your choice.
Yeah. So many different possibilities, right? Based on what it is that we want to choose. Yeah. Okay, now is a really good time. We're going to stop just for a quick break from our sponsors. So we'll be right back. Stay with us. welcome back to Cosmic Soul Alignment, and I'm here today with Kanika Vasudeva, and we've been talking lots about the Akashic records and parenting, and I want to continue that actually. You talk about connection between parenting and reincarnation, so how has your life experience deepened your understanding of the spiritual roles that we play in our children's life across lifetimes?
I love the question because it also goes back to what I was saying earlier. We tend to think that we are the overarching ones, like we are the caretakers. They're our responsibility. And that leads us to stress, but also what it does is it just does not allow us to grow deeper. If I look at my daughter, who I lost, she was a daughter in this lifetime. She's actually been my oracle teacher previously. So she's taught me how to open my channel, and just makes so much sense that she would be the one who continues to guide me. She is the most loving teacher and the most tough love person that I know as well, because she taught me how I needed to learn. She knew the tricks. If I look at my son, our relationship now, of course, he's younger to me. I'm the mother, so I'm looking after him. But if I really evaluate the soul contract, and every relationship is like this, might not enjoy it at times, we might love it at times, there's always a give and take. It might feel different, but there's always a give and take. What are you learning? With my son, and God bless him, he is there, still continues to be there to teach me how to be happy. Because when I was going to this really dark time, he was a little bit above 2 years. And while I was so much in grief and I just couldn't look at him, and I would be crying, my eyes would be welled up. As a 2-year-old, he wouldn't understand, and he would just give me a toy. And if I did not cheer up with that, he would just pick up another one. And he was very confused, genuinely confused. Like, why can't you be happy?
I didn't understand.
But I, at that time, was grieving the loss of a child. And how perfect was it that as I was grieving life, the loss of life, I had a little one who was showing me what life was about. It just could not have been more perfect. So he was there, and when I would tell him, even during those days, and I would say, hey, it's time for a shower. And then if he wanted to play, he would go, okay, how many minutes? And let's say if it was 2 minutes, he would just make the max out of 2 minutes. I actually remember one time when I said, well, I needed to remind him again. I said, well, it's just 1 minute before you go into the shower. And literally 1 minute, he stood there and he just jumped. Like 1, 2, just kept jumping for 1 minute, because he was so adamant around squeezing every life out of that 1 minute. And I share this story because this is how we are. There's a moment when we are born, this is how attached we are to life and to being happy. So that's why I chose him, because in general, I'm a more serious soul, and this is what I love. That this is what I receive from my son. Sometimes the same thing becomes, as we're growing up, the same thing becomes like, come on, just listen to me, just do what I'm saying. And he still reminds me of joy. So with all the parents, also all our relationships, they can be triggering, they can be loving, but we should think, what is it that we are truly learning from them? Because we wouldn't have the soul contract otherwise. There's something that you are learning, even the ones where they are really heartbreaking. Every heartbreaking relationship that I've had, if I go back, there's always something that I've learned from there.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I haven't learned fully, so I've learned the lesson again. And hence soul contracts, or how we define our relationships or parenting. There's always something you're learning from your child, even if you feel like you're really caring for them. even let's say your child is just a high need child for whatever reason, they're neurodivergent or incapable in some way, and you just need to fill in for them. Think about it not at the surface level of what is really happening, but go a little bit deeper. What are your kids teaching you? Maybe, and if I look at myself, I had this earlier, and hopefully it's getting better now. I used to be a real perfectionist. I wanted things to a certain standard at some time. And what I have learned over time is to appreciate the beauty in imperfection. So your kids, your better halves, the people that annoy you could be teaching you something similar. They could be teaching you more around unconditionally loving someone not for the perfection, not for how they are fitting in with the society, but loving them regardless. So I love that we all have the relationships or everything carved out with soul contracts in such a way that we all get to learn and grow. It's not unequal. Energy is always balanced. And the minute you learn your lesson, you'll just get the next one. So you move on from one thing to the other. But it's always beautiful that it's so lovingly aligned for us that way to learn and grow.
Because everything really is perfect in its own right. You know, it's all our our expectations of how we think something should look or how something should be. And I think if we just, sit back and observe it and just look at the beauty of how it actually is, because that's the way it's meant to be. Yeah, I totally hear you with that one. I just want to ask you quickly, have you discovered any, past life connections between yourself and your daughter by visiting the Akashics?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So with my daughter, the first time I met her, well, one of the first lifetimes with her was when she was the oracle. And I was a very young girl, maybe in my 5 years of age. And I was watching her. So I was there to learn as she was the oracle. She was the reader for everyone. So I got to learn from her. And very early on, one of the things that I saw was that when she spoke the truth, and if somebody else did not like the truth, sometimes those people would get really annoyed. So it's that's going a little bit into my story around how I need to learn and what I've needed to own up. So when I saw her getting hit, like she had an energetic shield and she did not actually get hit by the person then. But for me, I was very young when I watched that happen. And already I was thinking, okay, maybe, sometimes it's just safer not to speak the truth. So I grew up, and then as the reins were handed over to me, and when I became the oracle, first of all, I had disaligned myself from the truth in some sense. So my channel wasn't as open. I feel that our channeling, our integrity has to be really high. There's a lot of things that we can do, and it falls upon us, as I'm learning more and more every day, that it falls upon us to say it with the truest authenticity and compassion, but bring it out in the word. But that time, what happened was that I saw that and I just got scared and I started not operating from that full truth always. Maybe I would tell them the truth that they wanted to hear, and I would keep away the truth that I would see. But I felt out of fear for my life that I should not say it. So that led to other lifetimes. And so now this has been the journey with her to come back and then learn more about being in the truth. It led to that whole cycle around people pleasing, where it became so much about letting others be okay that I forgot my own voice. It was around, okay, what do you want? Slowly when you start disconnecting from your truth and authenticity, you actually start losing whatever you are.
Lose
So
yourself.
I lost my way. And I had series of lifetimes where the betrayal happened again and again because I had to rise through that. I had to love myself through that. I had to come to my conclusion that I wanted to own my truth and authenticity despite everything. So now I'm glad to be in this space. And also there's like no death happening in this lifetime for speaking my truth. At least that's what I see today. But that's my commitment, that whatever everyone wants to hear, whatever is in their highest truth, whatever I'm shown is what I will do now. That's the integrity, that's the respect for the channel, for recognizing the light that flows through us, because you and I, we are people who are of service. We give out what we receive, and hence that receiving has to be totally in harmony, has to be totally forwarded, if you will. Because if we keep that, if we contain that, then we are disconnecting. So that's what I believe in more and more. And this is where she comes in. And it's also wonderful to have her as a teacher and as a guide now, because our current life is a sum total of the previous lives or experiences that we would have had. So now she's coming to me. Now I'm able to remember and I'm able to be in touch with her more. So that is such a blessing. If it was just the ordinary experience, life would have gone on, but I'm richer because of the hardship, or I'm richer because of the awakening.
Sure. Fantastic answer. We've got a few minutes left, but I wanted to ask you about we clear our ancestral trauma. Okay, for example. So just say we've got children and we don't want to have any more children. By healing ourselves of these vibrations that have been passed down ancestrally, if we heal them within ourselves, does that stop our ancestral line, or are those patterns still in our children? So we haven't really stopped it. How do you think about that? Is the trauma stopped?
I'm thinking and I'm reflecting at myself. I'm reflecting at my clients because it's very good. How I do this is, whether it's for me or for a client, let's say whatever I want to stop. And this is a very good thing, you bring up about babies, because a lot of the times when our ancestors were growing up, having babies was a big deal. You had to keep life moving on. A lot of times children got killed. We might not feel that in the body today, but that is the programming that we've had. And often a lot of working women as well, especially when they're trying to rise up, do other things for themselves, they'll have a lot of the ancestors who are running in their DNA imprint who are telling them, well, you need to have a baby. And so it might manifest in your current life that you're just having a hard time working or rising, getting the next promotion, because somewhere the ancestors, they're just feeling you need to have babies. And how I've done that is the healing work that I always do. Mine is always like a team-based approach. It's always very collaborative. So I always just bring them to love and light. I always let them see what the next step is going to be, how life was different from them at the time when they were born and how it is now, how things don't have to be that way. And then usually when you bring them to love and light, then I'm hooking them up with source as well. They walk into the light. They see the things, they walk away. So I see that when I do the ancestral healing for myself or my clients, that heaviness with that issue resolves. But the interesting thing where I stopped for a while was you were saying, well, does it always heal down in the family line? Now, I might have healed my bit, but let's say my brother or my son, they carry DNA from both sides as well. We're all carrying that. So to some extent, I've impacted the bigger ancestral circle. Let's say if it's my grandmother who's stopping me for something, or great-great-grandmom, or fathers, not to keep any gender out. But let's say I've healed them. They might have certain other expectations from my brother, or there might be some other things why they're still tied up there. A lot of times, though, the impact is that when I've cleaned it, if it's my grandmother and she needed to have kids, once I've talked to her, she's not going to do the same thing for the others. And you see that in the visions as well. Whether you're bringing in more abundance, and abundance could be wealth, abundance could be just feeling inner peace, feeling a joy with life. When I see that, I actually see that also floating down the ancestral line, the light floating down. So it means it travels there. And then as you connect it, we're all connected. So as I look at my siblings or other family members with that, you see them getting from their roots as well. But everybody who's incarnating has ancestors, like we say we share the same ancestors in this body. We also share ancestors from previous lifetimes that we've had. So it's those overlaps that would have not been healed, but a lot of that otherwise, the major bulk of it in the physical DNA body form would have been healed.
I like
So
that
I'm
answer.
saying a lot of yes, but there could be other things that are still needing cleaning.
I like that answer. It was very deep. I did like it. Okay, we're out of time. But I just want to say that was a great conversation. It's lovely to get other people's perspective on things like the Akashic records, from their experience. And I think it deepens my understanding that things happen for our highest and good. It might be, as you said, it might have been a horrible experience at the time, which of course it is. We're meant to experience that pain of that experience, but it picks us up. It picks us up. It helps us to open, crack ourselves open and expand spiritually. And I think that's a wonderful thing. So I want to say thank you for coming on the show. Enjoyed our conversation, and Kanika's story is a powerful reminder that even through profound loss, healing and higher purpose can actually emerge. So if her journey touched your heart, be sure to check out her work. And remember, sometimes the souls who stay the shortest time leave the deepest imprint. So until next time, much love to you all. Thank you, Kanika. Wonderful to have you. Take care. And to the audience, we'll see you next week. Bye now.
Thank you so much. Thanks for
No
having me on the show, Dawn.
pleasure.